Welcome to our fireside chat, where we tell horrifying stories that will have you questioning humanity. Story 1. It was a typical Tuesday afternoon when I stumbled upon a cleaning job posting on Craigslist. Desperate for some extra cash, I quickly emailed my resume and received a response within minutes. An interview scheduled for later that day at an address downtown. Arriving at the location, I felt a chill down my spine as I stared at the abandoned building before me. Windows shattered, graffiti covering the walls. It looked like something out of a horror movie. Ignoring my instincts, I walked up to the front door, determined to make a good impression. As I approached, I heard faint shuffling behind me. Turning around, I saw a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness. Before I could react, he lunged towards me, grabbing my arm. Instinctively, I swung a hard punch, connecting with his jaw. He staggered back, giving me enough time to break free and sprint towards my car. I fumbled with my keys, heart pounding in my chest as I heard his footsteps closing in. Just as I managed to unlock the door and jump inside, he lunged again, this time grabbing onto the door frame. I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, the engine roaring as the car lurched forward. With a sickening thud, he fell off the car, disappearing into the rearview mirror. Trembling, I sped home and immediately called the police, recounting the terrifying ordeal. But when I logged back onto Craigslist to report the incident, the job posting had mysteriously vanished. It was as if the whole thing had never existed, except for the lingering fear and adrenaline coursing through my veins. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of footsteps echoing behind me wherever I went. Though I never heard from the police about any leads, I couldn't help but wonder who that man was and what his intentions had been. The experience left me wary of Craigslist ads and haunted by the chilling encounter in that abandoned building. Story 2. It was a dreary Wednesday morning when I stumbled upon a unique job listing on Craigslist, a caretaker position for an old estate on the outskirts of town. Intrigued by the promise of good pay and flexible hours, I sent in my application and received a prompt reply. An interview scheduled for later that day at the estate itself. Arriving at the address, I found myself at the gates of an imposing mansion surrounded by overgrown gardens. Despite the eerie silence and the faint mist hanging in the air, I pressed on, determined to make a good impression. As I made my way up the winding path to the front door, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Suddenly, a twig snapped behind me, and I spun around to see a figure emerging from the shadows. Before I could react, he lunged at me, grabbing my arm with surprising strength. Panic surged through me as I struggled to break free. With a surge of adrenaline, I managed to wrestle myself away and sprint towards the mansion's entrance. I fumbled with the doorknob, heart racing as I heard his heavy footsteps closing in. Just as he reached out to grab me again, I swung the door open and dashed inside, slamming it shut behind me. Breathing heavily, I frantically searched for a way to lock the door, relieved to find a bolt that secured it firmly. Through the frosted glass, I saw him banging on the door, shouting incomprehensibly. I backed away, trembling as I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, my voice shaking as I recounted what had just happened. Minutes later, police sirens echoed through the estate grounds, and I watched from a window as officers apprehended the man. With shaking hands, I gave my statement, feeling a mix of relief and lingering fear. When I checked Craigslist later that evening, the job posting had been removed, leaving me with a chilling reminder of how close I had come to danger. In the weeks that followed, I couldn't shake the paranoia that followed me everywhere, a constant reminder of the narrow escape I had made. While I never learned the man's motives, I vowed to be more cautious in my job search, haunted by the memory of that fateful day at the mansion. Story 3. I came across an intriguing job ad on Craigslist, a personal assistant position for a wealthy entrepreneur who needed help with day-to-day tasks. Excited about the prospect of working closely with someone successful, I quickly applied and received a response. An interview scheduled for later that day at an upscale office building downtown. Arriving at the address, I found myself in front of a sleek, modern skyscraper, a stark contrast to the eerie buildings of my previous encounters. Stepping inside, I felt a wave of relief wash over me as I was greeted by friendly receptionists and bustling professionals. I was directed to an elevator that would take me to the top floor where the interview was scheduled. As the elevator ascended, I reviewed my notes and practiced my responses, eager to impress. The doors slid open to reveal a posh office suite with floor-to-ceiling windows offering stunning views of the city skyline. I was ushered into a sleek conference room where I awaited my interviewer. Minutes passed, and just as I was beginning to wonder if I had been stood up, a distinguished-looking man entered the room with a warm smile. We exchanged pleasantries, and he began discussing the responsibilities of the role. Midway through the interview, I heard a faint noise coming from the hallway outside. The man paused, his expression briefly flickering with concern before he reassured me it was nothing. I dismissed it as nerves and continued answering his questions. Suddenly, the door burst open, and a disheveled figure rushed into the room, a stark contrast to the polished atmosphere. Before I could react, he lunged at me, grabbing my shoulder. Instinctively, I pushed back, knocking over my chair and stumbling away. The man from the interview swiftly intervened, shouting for security as he tried to restrain the intruder. Adrenaline surged through me as I scrambled to the door, heart pounding in my chest. Security guards arrived within moments, wrestling the intruder to the ground and escorting him away. Shaken but unharmed, I exchanged stunned glances with the interviewer, who apologized profusely for the disturbance. He assured me that such incidents were rare and insisted on accompanying me to the lobby for my safety. As I rode the elevator down, I couldn't shake the surreal feeling of what had just transpired. Despite the chaos, the interviewer praised my composure and assured me he would be in touch about the position. When I returned home, I found the Craigslist ad had been removed, a testament to the swift action taken by the employer. Although shaken by the unexpected turn of events, I couldn't deny the adrenaline rush and the unique experience gained from that day's interview. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We will see you in the next one.